because everybody that you connect to is not going to help foster your spirituality, that you become maximized to your full potential in God. Bishop Blake, most people will not understand this type of analogy because their concept may be tainted by where they are economically. But I bought a car that was worth $100,000. See how quiet it got quiet. I bought a BMW 650i convertible, blue with the tan interior, badass can be. The problem with the car was when I went and bought the car, the salesman didn't tell me, don't buy convertibles in the northeast region of the country. I don't live in California like Bishop, or Virginia like Bishop. 8 months out of the year, we got bad weather. Well, why would you buy a car then, Page, $100,000 car, and you can't drive it? Well, I bought it because when I turned 48 last year, I started having whatever you want to call it. You start going through that midlife crisis. I used to have hair, all that gone.
Amen.
48, and you start asking yourself, what have you really accomplished? Because most of your time you spend around church people who you don't like and don't like you. And you sacrifice your family behind people who you don't like and don't like you. So you get depressed. So you make decisions like buying $100,000 cars. So I buy this car, and I bought the car in August. But next month is September. So the second week of September, I'm driving the car, and Bishop White knows this, on the Harlem River Drive across the George Washington Bridge with my top down in September. So I almost catching pneumonia trying to drive a car that I shouldn't have bought. Well, since I can't drive the car, park the car in the garage, and during the wintertime, I drive a black Range Rover, so I don't really need that kind of car, but I wanted the car, so the weather gets good about a month and a half ago, and I go outside, I'm gonna drive my car today. So I go to hit that button to start the car won't start. So I'm saying to myself, I paid $100,000 for a car that won't start. I should look at it and say, in the name of Bishop, and it start up. Car won't start. Call BMW, they send a little technician out with a little black box. He pulls out this little cord, goes to the back of the car, opens up the trunk, and hits the battery, and the car starts. He says, you drive this car for 3 or 4 hours, you get the battery fully charged, you should have no more problems with it. Well, I drove it around 3 or 4 hours, went and parked it, went out of town 3 or 4 more days to preach, came back, I'm gonna drive my car, I went to hit that button again, car wouldn't start. I said, all right, I know what I gotta do now. Call BMW, come get the flatbed, take this $95,000, $100,000 demon out my driveway. There's something wrong with this car. They take it to the dealership calls me back, says, Reverend Page, come in the morning, pick up your car. Well, long story short, when I go to the next day and I walk up to the dealership, here comes the service manager, here comes the dealership manager. They say, we want to shake your hand. We want to shake the hand of a man that will make $100,000 investment in something and don't use it. because that doesn't make sense. I automatically got an attitude because they were trying to call me ignorant. I said, I spend my money the way I want to spend my money. I said, and didn't want to tell him I bought it because I was depressed. He looks at me and says, Reverend Page, I got good news and bad news. There's nothing wrong with your car. There must be something wrong with the car. It doesn't start. Nothing's wrong with the car. The issue with your car is the battery has died. I said, well, that's a simple problem to correct. He said, no, it's not. We have to replace the battery. I said, no, that's still not a problem because I paid enough for the car and my monthly note is high enough that I have bumper-to-bumper coverage. He says, no, you don't. You didn't read the fine print of the contract. The contract says BMW will replace your battery if it goes bad while you're using it. You missed it. Long as you use it and it goes bad while it's in usage, you can say BMW is liable. But if it goes bad because you are negligent in exercising the investment that you made, you are liable to replace it. Okay. I said, what you mean? Well, you got to replace that battery. I said, well, how much is it? $475. I said, I'm not buying no $470. You gonna get some life to this one. He said, well, Reverend, this news, we took it out of the truck, put it on the diagnostic bed, and we put power to the battery, and we found out this: all the cells around the battery work properly. But you've got a cell that serves as a conduit to the rest of the cell. That one cell has gone bad. So that one cell that would serve as a conduit to transmit power to the rest of the cells doesn't have the capacity to hold a charge and send power to the rest of the cell. So your car will not start. And that's when revelation kicked in. God said, that's the problem with my church. You got folk in your inner circle that are supposed to be speaking life to you that are dead cells. And the reason you got dead cells, you got folk around you that you don't use properly. You don't use them to be prayer partners. You use them for gossip partners. He said, this has got to be the season where you disconnect yourself from anything that keeps sucking up all the strength, all the power, all the joy from your life. And he says it like this: I didn't understand what the salesman was telling me about this car until the car went bad. He said, there's 7 to 8 computers in this car that you don't see because all you see is the beauty of the outside. But behind what you see and under the hood, these computers are constantly drawing power even when the car is parked. So that means even when it looks like the car's not moving, computers are constantly pulling life from the battery. See, we tend to look at you on the outside and don't understand there's some stuff on the inside sucking